What's up, everybody? This is Joe Zaragoza with Coda Maintenance, and I'm here to help hundreds and thousands of aviation maintenance technicians in the military to transition into the civilian world. And the last 6 years, I've done hundreds of AMPs, couple thousand of getting people certifications, and that's my mission. My mission is to grow the awareness of jobs, opportunities on the outside after you transition. Because you know, let's be honest, you can't be in the military forever. I'm sure some of you would like to, but not all of us would want that, nor bodies can hold up to that. Because the military is very demanding and they have certain standards that you have to keep up even physically, right? So uh, this is something I was reading a report on because I like to do some research and keep current and making sure that there's demand and or there's gaps that I could possibly fill. So when I was in the military, it didn't seem like the aviation maintenance world was very in high demand. But it wasn't until I visited a conference in Enterprise, Alabama. I think that's where Fort Rucker's at. So they had some helicopter guys for pilots, showed up there, and they invited me over, and I wanted to go see if, you know, was there really demand for, us, AMTs in the civilian world. And no joke, I got pulled left and right, and giving business cards. I had a stack full of business cards that, like, I left there with knowing that, okay, this is legit. People need this, and I want to share this with my community of aircraft maintenance professionals in the military, right? So I was already starting Code One maintenance, but I wasn't. I needed to be like I needed to see it for myself before I go further, because I was working with somebody else, as a partnership, and I guess I still wasn't sold on it yet. Like, I wanted to do this, I wanted it to work, but I also needed some concrete proof that this is a real thing. So I went to this event, and my eyes just opened up to, like, oh, this is a real thing, and we need to share this because there's companies hungry for talent pool, and maybe there's a disconnect between what regular maintainers can get to, what information is provided out there, and then there's the civilian side. And I noticed that a lot of recruiters are not really knowledgeable on the military side. It's not, and I've never really met a lot of recruiters who were served in the military side either. And then I haven't met too many people who are like advocates from the military side to push into. I mean, there is some, but not a lot. And I would say I'm one of them, probably the best one. But because I talk to the recruiters, I talk to the employers, I go out and handshake, meet these people, and sometimes you'll meet business developers, or maybe you'll meet the director of maintenance, and they've been in the military, but they don't know where the disconnect is at. And the technicians on this side, they're wondering, why is it taking so long for the company to bring on? Now that I know the business side of things or what they're doing, that's why I'm here to make sense of things. But what I was reading over the weekend, if some of these stats from ATEC. ATEC is the Aviation Technician Education Council, where they are propped up to help promote basically the Part 147s, uh, help get talent from high schools for younger guys, and these are the universities, kind of like Embry-Riddle, or what's some my personal favorite, Tarrant County College, that has a great facility and very welcoming than a lot of other schools that I've experienced. And I'm sure there's some good instructors. I met some great people from a lot of schools, but Tarrant County themselves overall have been a little more welcoming than some other schools I've experienced. They're not too fond of schools like ours, but these guys, or this organization, has been a little more open to it, and I'm hoping to work some deals out with them here in the future as I have more conversations with them. However, anyways, but in this study, and I'll see if I can pull it up, and I'll put it in front of this. Um, there we go. It's in the executive summary. I mean, it is 2023, but I want to say that was the latest one that they had. I haven't seen a new one. Or was it 24 and it just has 23 on it? I don't know. Let's see. No, it doesn't allow me. So basically, it says that ATEC estimates that less than 10% of experienced veterans are transitioning to similar mechanic roles in the civilian side. Another leading challenge for these schools, aviation maintenance tech schools, which is likely to worsen along with the workforce shortage, is the availability of qualified instructors. So just the industry in itself is there's a shortage from test centers to examiners to not it's not just aviation maintenance, but these instructors also are eligible to work in the hangars too. So as these companies are looking for technicians, they're looking from all over the place, and the schools have to compete with those companies too. So, but anyways, back to the veterans. That's was a study that was taken. I know it's 2023, but and if I find a newer one, I'll let you guys know. Let's see. Yeah, that only 10% of them are going into civilian aviation, and it could be a lot of things. I mean, my experience is that there's not a lot of opportunities. There wasn't enough pay, but companies are doing a lot better that I've noticed in recent months. They're up in their game and pay. There's great organizations like Jets MRO trying to build a great culture, putting that on the forefront. And honestly, as more as I get to meet more managers, maintenance managers, directors, and even a couple of business owners, they are trying to create a certain culture where it makes like a family oriented or a tight knit team, right? So those things can mean a lot of things. One of the questions I would ask: what does a family? What does that look like as a family? That's a question I would ask. However, what I would value, me personally, is you know what is because everywhere is meritocracy, right? And I want to be a part of an awesome team. And what does my definition of an awesome team? Everybody in there is in there to be better. They want to be a better technician every single day. We're gonna learn, and the company kind of at least open to training. Like say I'm working on this aircraft, they're gonna give me, they're gonna send me to the manufacturer's training courses so I can learn more about the aircraft themselves, right? So it's kind of like in the military, they call them Jam Fam classes. I'm sure that's what they call them on other places, but when I went from F-16 to A-10, I did some Jam Fam classes for A-10s. I did some engine, Jam Fam courses that was available, like a crash course basically. And I did those. So if companies are open to training you, that's a big thing for me, only because I want to get better at my craft, right? Yeah, of course, we want to do our own maybe trainings, that would be helpful. But if the company is also on board with that, and everybody else in that work center, it's all about we're gonna get better. That's the kind of culture I want. I don't want a culture that's like it's just about the pay, you know, doing the bare minimum, checking in, checking out, and to me, I don't know. It's also to work with it's also awesome to work with people who are wanting to be better, going to a place where like they believe in the mission, like they know what the mission is and they want to knock that out. I love being part of those teams. So not just like I'm gonna just do enough. I'm this is just my job to check in, check out, eat lunch, and then get the heck out of there. And I don't care about work. I don't want nothing to do with work. And while that's not bad and it's good to decompress and do some other hobbies, but I still want the core of their life to be this mission. I don't know if that makes sense, right? Because providing the best, like they think about that. So what do I mean by that? Even when they're at a car show, hanging out with their friends, I was like, yeah, man, at my company, this is our mission. They talk about it. They promote happily promote where they work at, and they wear the shirts at work. They kind of like this. I'm promoting Coco's, right? I was the neighbor. My Coco's curry restaurant was my neighbor. Basically, I can spit on the roof if I wanted to. I never did it, but I could. And I'll just go down the stairs on my apartments and just walk over next door, and I'm there. And they have good food, good people. That's Chick Fil A. People talk about Chick Fil A, Raising Canes. There's people. They have like merchandise, right? Whataburger has merchandise, and if you have merchandise and stuff like that, that's awesome, right? But there's also people who do that in the workforce, right? They work for Lockheed, they work for Boeing, or they work in the Air Force. Like I wear my Air Force stuff too, and I'm proud to be working there. A couple of days ago I had a Davis Mountain. I thought Davis Mountain was I like being a part of that, being all teams of awesomeness, right? So like if I was a car salesman, I would probably represent Toyota as a whole company. If it was Chevy, I was like, I love their Chevy trucks and their sports cars. I can, not so much their sedans, but trucks and sports cars. You will have my conviction 100% on that. But other than that, you want people to have that conviction or that sense of pride to work. I think that's the word I was looking for, right? Instead of going to this whole damn explanation. But yeah, a sense of pride with where they work at, right? Because that helps recruit people. That helps give them us, helps with retention. And I've seen companies are working on that. So uh, not, you have the major airlines and stuff like that, but sometimes there's not that sense of pride there. And I've started, realizing that even the smaller companies are doing a great job of that because it's tight knit, right? It's a small group, 10 to 25 people to 50 people, there's that tight knit group. And it just makes working for a company like that, awesome, right? So it doesn't have to be a nonprofit, it doesn't have to be the military. Sometimes the missions of some of these companies, what they do is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. So something to look at, and that's what I want to grow the awareness. And I'll be bringing on more companies on talking about their culture, talking about hopefully we can grow the awareness. Hopefully I can grow the awareness of these small companies are not the majors, and talk about these little companies, not so much small, some are not even small, but they're just not well known. They got awesome missions, and they have the mission and their culture of their company at the forefront, right? So I love talking to people who, they love their job over how much they get paid at work, because I see it on Facebook groups. I was like, oh, I get paid $70 an hour, blah, blah, blah. That's cool, but I want to hear about your culture too, because I don't want to be waking up and just dragging ass to work because just to make $60. I'd rather make less to be happy to work for somebody else, right? So that's my thing. And for me, like this mission, I don't make nowhere near as in the majors, but this is my mission. I love doing this, and I love working with other people with the same mindset, right? So, anyways, back to this stat. There's a lot of work to be done, especially on I would love to carry this on my back and grow the awareness of awesome companies that are looking for the military maintainers. And I have a couple of guys who are looking strictly for military maintainers. So if you're one of those guys, reach out to me. I can get you connected. Uh, the two big ones I can think of is if you have 757, um, Boeing 757 experience and you're willing to travel, a couple of weeks out of the month. And another one is general aviation. If you like working on the smaller aircraft, which I think that would be kind of more my pace. However, there's great companies that provide that service, and what they do is pretty cool. The people, they seem like they're very tight knit, group, and we're looking for people for them to uh, to get connected with, right? Have that awesome, there's a lot of great guys. The military has such amazing people that, yeah, is there some that are just, are there some guys who are in the military that, they just did the bare minimum and they're just transitioning into the civilian world because, in aviation maintenance, because it was just easy for them to get a job? Yeah, they're just doing the bare minimum. And I see it quite a bit in the civilian side, but overall, even those guys, I probably will take over somebody else that just come out of college. There's nothing against them, and then there's great candidates there. I met those guys too. It's just, and maybe it's just something that I'm familiar with. I know the ins and outs of it. Seeing all types of guys, as I've been in the military for 14 years, knowing every person from different backgrounds. Um, but yeah, this is a great talent pool that companies are missing out on. So if you're an employer, director of maintenance, listening to this, or you're a technician and helping guys out, grow the awareness, because there's companies out there like Frontier Airlines. At a point, they were looking for great, technicians, and the majors. The majors have great pay, and some of those majors have great cultures. I wouldn't say all of them do, and but I'm here to help you if find that dream job without the hassle. So we're the ones talking to the companies, and we can hook you up. We can connect you. I want to be the A&P connector. That's gonna be my slogan: A&P connector. All right. So like I said, we have an A&P school. If you're looking for your A&P, we have those services that we can provide, and with it comes with our service. So without having to, let's see, let me get the, here we go. There's the, you can get access to that. Let's jump on a call. Let's get you, a lot of people don't know how to even get started with your A&P. And if you have 30 months of experience, I can hook you up and get you rolling with that. So that way you can start studying. And we provide online courses as well. So that way you can, do it from the convenience at your place, in your room, and, not sacrifice, work time, leave time, because that's important, right? Leave time and traveling over to another school, especially because there's a lot of amazing schools out there that you're going to be put on a waiting list, and we can definitely help you out and do it from online, right? So but if you're a company and you're looking for great military talent, reach out to me. We'd like to get you hooked up. If you're working for director of maintenance, or you're a supervisor somewhere and you have some pull on who you want to hire, which is mostly supervisors and director of maintenance, reach out to me. I can definitely find out great talent. That's my specialty. And we have thousands of guys. And these guys are already getting out. Some of them are getting out in 1 or 2 years and ready to go. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Just message me, or message me on Facebook, Code on Maintenance. You'll find me there. Message me there. And you want to do live training, we got to, just reach out to me here, and this QR code, scan it, and I'll reach out to you, and just respond to the message, and we get rolling. Super easy. All right, guys. So Um, I thought this was a crazy stat that there's only 10%. And I can see that. There's guys who go into cybersecurity, which is not bad. They get into, electrical work, other trades, and diesel mechanics. Um, Sometimes they're like, I do not want to see another aircraft ever again. And that sucks. But because I think planes are cool. I love planes. I love especially business jets and, you know, fighter jets. Well, actually, all of them really. I used to not like the C-130, but once I get to study more of the C-130, man, that especially as long as it's lasted, and I actually got to tinker a little bit with the C-130, it's actually a badass jet, So um, that's just a lot of opportunity for you guys if you're in the military. There's a lot of opportunity. You're a very small population in the civilian side, and show you off your skills. You know, Leadership super important, and that's what's needed. That's what's needed in this sector. And if you run a hangar, you're running a maintenance team. Having a couple of these guys is well worth the the hire, well worth the investment. Let's put it that way, because that's what it is, right? Just having 2 3 awesome guys is, you can run circles through a lot of maintenance teams. So um, I just thought that this was pretty interesting, and I wanted to share this with y'all because this is what I learned. And um, there's guys looking for opportunities out there, and there's a huge shortage. So definitely, I would invest into this group. I can definitely help you out with that, and work with you and your maintenance team to, fill the gaps in that you have in your hangar. All right, so um, that's going to be needed. It's going to be needed for a very long time. So starting your own office with, transitioning members, I can help you out with that, or you know developing your own office with that. A lot of airline companies are already doing it, and you know I can definitely uh, help out with the start. I provide every Tuesday question and answers, or I can do a webinar every Tuesday as well, and we can work on that and how to get started for your A&P. So tomorrow I'm going to be talking about how to get started in your A&P. So get with me tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and we can knock that out. All right. So see y'all soon. Have a good night. Again, I'm Joe Zaragoza, on code on maintenance. We help out military maintainers transition into the civilian side if they are pursuing or aspiring to be aviation maintenance technicians. And we have helped out hundreds of guys get their A&Ps, and we continue to do thousands. All right, so have a good one, and have a good rest of the week. Happy Monday. Peace.